But let's get in to the predicted lineup. Ange has been speaking in the press conference, and let's run through the team news.
Yeah, so mixed news at the moment. Sarr obviously went off against Fulham on Monday night, but he said he should be back and available for this game after he came in. He's absolutely fine. He said he went off with a bit of an injury and he had a bit of an illness as well, but he's absolutely fine for Friday night. He should be available. Destiny Udogie is a major doubt we've heard. It wasn't confirmed by Ange. We've heard he hasn't trained this week, and Ange said he has to be assessed going into the game on Friday, and he'll have a final chance tomorrow to prove his fitness, and we'll have to wait and see. Long-term absentees. He actually spoke a bit about Ryan Sessegnon. He said he's still a long-term absentee. We're not going to see him anytime soon. Obviously, Manuel Solomon and Perisic won't be seen anytime soon. But Bentancur was an injury one because I don't think he mentioned him in his team news, but seeing more and more of him train with the first team in the training pictures. He's looking sharper and sharper as well.
What a strike he had on him.
Yeah, brilliant goal he scored in training. If you see the video as well. Really great to see him back in training with the team. So who knows? Maybe he'll be on the bench. We don't know for sure. We're going to assume he's still going to remain out. He said he remained out on Monday night. Hasn't mentioned him when it comes to team news here. But look, I think it seems to be a matter of time before he starts getting involved in matchday squads.
Yeah, and I cannot wait. Can you wait till that trifecta? Oh. You know when Ndombele and Lo Celso first came in, we were going on about the trifecta, This is the real trifecta. Yeah. Bentancur, Bissouma, and Maddison.
It's going to be unbelievable. Once Bentancur is back to his best and fully acclimatized with that team, I mean, it's going to take some stopping. I mean, Bentancur last season took some stopping just by himself, like without any help, and now he's got Maddison and Bissouma. Like, how is anyone going to get the ball off them? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see.
It's going to be a joy to behold, but that's not just yet. We're going to have to wait for that one. But let's get into the predicted lineup. We're going for a 4-3-3 formation as per usual, and obviously in goal is going to be Guillermo. I still can't pronounce it. Guillermo Vicario, who's been on unbelievable form this season. Let's hope we don't need to force a couple of amazing saves out of him this or tomorrow night.
Yeah, I'm sure he's going to have some moments because Palace being at home, they're going to have some chances. I'm sure Vicario is going to have to be at his sharpest just to make sure that we're not conceding any silly goals, or from set pieces as well. He's going to have to be commanding. He was talking about Vicario in his pre-match press conference, saying how, he was asked about was he worried about Vicario coming over from Italy and adjusting to England and stuff. He said he was saying, when I looked at Vicario, I didn't see him as a Italian goalkeeper coming from Italy. I saw him as a human being and as a goalkeeper who I assessed him on his own qualities, and I saw him as a guy who's going to fit right in this club and in this group, and that's why we went for him. And it's great to hear, and he's been absolutely fantastic. His role he played again on Monday night against Fulham, crucial moments. He stepped up for the team when we needed him most, and hopefully he does the same on Friday night.
Yeah, and all season he's been really confident in coming for crosses, coming for those set pieces, for those corners, and I think that's going to be a real big tool in his armory for this game, isn't it?
100%.
On the right hand side of the defence, obviously going to be Pedro Porro, who's also had a really good season. Only got one assist, which was surprising to me this season with that brilliant one against Burnley. I'd like to see him add more to that because we know he's got it well in his locker.
I would say he's had one assist, but his passing's been phenomenal.
100%.
Like his passing and general play, almost pre-assists have really helped open up the game, and especially when he's passing from deep. And I think, especially in this game, it could be very vital when it comes to opening up a stubborn Palace defence. You need that quality from deep sometimes. We know Porro can provide it, so hopefully he can be at his attacking best in this game.
Alongside him, right centre-back who had a phenomenal game against Fulham on Monday night is Cuti Romero. And he's not going to let any of his opponents have a sniff, isn't he, tomorrow night?
Yeah, you have to hope so. Obviously, he's going to be up against either Edouard or Mateta or even both. And I'm sure there'll be a handful, and I'm sure they're going to try and rough him up and give him a tough time. But, Romero gives as good as he gets, and probably more, and then some, I'll say. So I'm sure he'll be relishing the challenge.
Alongside Romero is obviously going to be Mickey van der Ven, who again has been in sensational form, stepped in like we can only have dreamed, to be honest.
Yeah, and he's been fantastic. Another great game against Fulham on Monday night. And look, he has kind of, against Big Burnley, he struggled a bit with the physical challenge, so maybe Palace will be looking at that. But then also, I think a few weeks later, it was against Luton potentially. he had a very similar physical challenge against Morris, and he stepped up and was completely dominant. So hopefully he has taken those lessons from the Sheffield United game and can really start to dominate these physical centre-backs, physical strikers.
On the left-hand side of the defence, it actually says Udogie there, but are we going for Udogie or Davis?
I've got a feeling it's going to be Davis, to be honest. But yeah, it's got, well, look, it says Udogie there, but I think it's going to be Davis.
Yeah, with Ben Davis, we know what he's going to bring us. He brings us, grit, determination, fairly good passing ability. But what are we going to be lacking without Udogie?
What are we going to be lacking? Everything else, pretty much. Pace, power, positional sense. I think confidence to really get in those goal-scoring positions at times and really help out the attack. Like when you see Udogie have that confidence to just go into that number 10 role without any hesitation and being able to take the ball under pressure and turn and outmuscle his opponent. I don't see Davis just being able to do that. Davis is one of those players where you give him the ball when he's not under pressure, he's not got players around him. He can maybe pick out a good pass. He can maybe help out your attack on the overlap sometimes, or even an underlap potentially. He can maybe make a run off the ball. But when you're talking about taking the ball under pressure, out-muscling an opponent, beating them for pace, having quality with his left foot in the final third, having quality to pick up the ball under pressure, those are things I doubt he has in his locker. So if I think in a weird way, Porro's recently been taking a bit more of a reserved position, it seems, and Udogie's been able to fly forward. I kind of hope it's the opposite in this game. If
you would imagine it would be, wouldn't it, with these two on the pitch. But Davis hasn't started in the Premier League so far this season, so maybe it's a good opportunity. I know it's going to be hard because Destiny's just been so good, but in his mind, to stake a claim.
To be fair, came on against Man United, didn't he? He set up a goal, and it was decent, so he'll have that in his mind.
I actually think, everyone gives Ben Davis a bad rap, but I don't think I think he's a good player to have around the squad. I really do, because he's a player that, he's not going to kick up a fuss if he's not starting. When he does come in, he puts in, a minimum of 6 out of 10, probably a maximum of 7, 7.5, potentially 8 if you're really lucky, out of 10. And I think he does get forward. He's actually underrated in that sense about getting forward. I think he gets forward than more people give him credit for.
He tries to anyway.
He tries to. In terms of the number 6, Yves Bissouma back in the team. And this is going to be an interesting one because he's walking that tightrope again with the yellow card. For you, is it definite Bissouma comes in, or would you like to keep him for the Chelsea game?
Put him in. No game can be guaranteed for me. You have to play the best available team in my opinion. And Postecoglou was saying in his pre-match press conference that Bissouma obviously had that red card, but he would have learned from that. He wasn't there to scold him. He knows. He said that Bissouma would have realised the consequences of being sent off in that manner and taking those actions that he did. And thankfully, his teammates bailed him out, and then they won against Luton, and they won against Fulham without him. So he would have realised that, but he said he's still a massive part of what we're doing here, so it's great to have him back. So I think he comes back in, and if you get to booking and is out for the Chelsea game, so be it. But I think you have to put him back in this game, and you have to play your best team, because what if we don't play him and all of a sudden we're missing him and we end up dropping points? It doesn't mean anything that you can play against Chelsea, and that you have to play him.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I was asked the question on the post-match fan show after the Fulham game, and I said, you have to play your best team available for every game that comes, and then you worry about the next game when the next game comes. Mm-hmm. You can't be just figuring out, we've got this game in 3 games time, that game in 2 games time. You have to win and put what's put in front of you. And that's a very difficult game at Crystal Palace. So Bissouma comes in the number 6. In the first number 8 position, we are going to go for Pierre, Emile, Hojbjerg. I personally think it's going to be Pape Matar, to be honest. Ange says that he's completely back and he's available for selection. Mm-hmm. I know Hojbjerg had a really good game, but it does seem like he's only been deployed as number 6 for Ange so far. So I kind of do feel like Pape Sarr does so much for the team, especially off the ball. I feel he's going to play.
The reason why I reckon Hojbjerg is going to play is because Sarr, he did say he's fine, but he did say he had a few problems in midweek. He was a bit ill and all that kind of stuff. So if he's not 100%, and with the fact that Hojbjerg has actually been playing really well off the bench before Monday night, and then had a great game on Monday night as well, And the fact that when he has come off the bench, he has played with Basuma as well. They have played together when he's been a substitute. I think all those things put together, and the fact that, in my opinion, I know Sarr's been having a great season, but in the last couple games, I don't think I wouldn't say he's been bad, but I don't think he's been amazing in the last couple games. He's maybe had a bit of a drop off in the levels that maybe he was showing at the beginning of the season. Not a massive, but just a bit. Not as good. All that put together, I think maybe it could be a chance to give Hojbjerg his opportunity, and I think it's one he would have deserved, especially with the performance he put in on Monday night. And you might argue, well, if he's coming in, maybe it should be Basuma coming out because Sarr's done nothing to lose his place, and Basuma's been the one who got sent off. But I think maybe he's got a little excuse, the fact that Sarr had a little problem in midweek. He had a bit of an illness and stuff like that. He's got a little excuse and an opportunity to give Hojbjerg a chance here. So I reckon it'll be Hojbjerg.
Well, we'll have to wait and see what happens. I think Sarr Sims says Hojbjerg. Let me know in the comment section below who you think will take that number 8 role. But there's no qualms about who's taking the other midfield spot, and that's definitely going to be James Maddison, the best player in the Premier League so far, in my opinion, and he's going to be vital for us.
Yeah, incredible season. He's having another amazing performance against Fulham. And this game, it's going to be even more difficult because against Fulham, he had like João Paulinho to deal with, and that was his own problems. But this one, he's going to have Decore, he's going to have Lerma, he's going to have probably Will Hughes as well. Tough tackling players who are hard to shake off. But the form he is in, you wouldn't put it past him to make light work of them because he's just taking every challenge as it comes right now. And every midfielder he comes up against, he's able to weave past and create chances against. And I think this game, he might have to drop a bit deeper to get a bit more involved. And given how congested Palace like to make the central areas, but he's got the quality to do that and to pop up in all different situations and areas and make himself even more unpredictable, which is also one of the most impressive things he's done this season. So he's going to be absolutely crucial in this game for it to get all 3 points.
Absolutely. So midfield 3 of Basuma, Hojbjerg and Maddison. Maddison did mention that he's in the form of his life, he said, to quote his own words. Do you think he is in the form of his life, or do you think he's just getting noticed more because he's in a Spurs shirt now?
I would say he is in the form of his life. Yeah, I think it's true. He is getting noticed more because he's in a Spurs shirt, 100%. But I also think he's playing even better than he was at Leicester, even though he was really good at Leicester. Don't get me wrong, but Leicester, I felt like he was more of a player where he wouldn't get as involved in the all-round game as he is now. Not to say that he was completely anonymous and he would just stand up front and wait for the ball. It wasn't like that as much. But a lot of the time he would play on the wing, wouldn't he? Play on the right-hand side and he would play in the number 10. Whereas we're seeing a bit of a different side of his game now at Spurs, where he's dropping in to deeper positions, getting much more involved in the build-up and being like a hub of a team. I didn't feel like he was the hub of the team at Leicester. I felt like he was like an attacking threat.
I felt like he did that
weapon
last season for Leicester, and that was like the first season he started to do it. That's what I felt like. Drop, be the hub of the team, be a lot more aggressive off the ball. I did notice that a lot more from him last season, but I think you're right in terms of maybe previous years he didn't do that. Yeah,
I think he's doing it even more of an effect this season than he even was before. So I would say he probably is. I don't think he's playing like. I don't think he's like double the levels he was at Leicester. I think he's like a bit better, but also with the more attention on him as well.
All right, so that's our midfield 3. On the right-hand side of the attack, we're going to stick with Dejan Kulusevski. Look, he was all right last game. Could have been a bit better in terms of his end product and passing, but he's having a good season. Yeah, and up against Tyrick Mitchell, who's a very good left-back, so he's definitely going to have to make sure he's on top of his game if he's going to get joy out of him. But I think, again, he does such a crucial role for the team. And when he gets the ball, he can carry it forward, bring it to the penalty area, cause problems for the defence. Needs to work on, knowing when to shoot, when to lay off a pass, get his shooting boots back on. But I've got no qualms about him keeping his place for this game. On the left-hand side is a contentious decision, as Richarlison has been given the nod in the last game. They are giving him the nod in this game, but I wouldn't be surprised to see Brennan Johnson come in. Yeah, I think he's contributing, but he's got to watch himself, because definitely some of the quality has been a bit frustrating, especially with his finishing. He's definitely got to make sure that tightens up. Some of his general play occasionally as well can be left a bit frustrating when he tries a shoulder touch and when it's needless and gives away the ball too many times.
So I'm sure Ange will be watching that, but he has been contributing last few weeks, getting some assists, 4 goal contributions in his last 6 starts. I think that hasn't gone unnoticed by Ange, and I do think his level of performance has been slowly, steadily improving. So he's going to keep his place, but definitely he needs to up his game if he's going to keep it for the long term.
Yeah. So Richarlison on the left, Kulusevski on the right, and obviously up top will be the captain, Heung-min Son. 7 goals already this season, only 2 behind the leader, which is Erling Haaland. And he's going to need to be very clinical and get some goals this weekend.
Yeah, he's got a great, if I remember right, he's got a pretty good record against Palace, hasn't he?
Yeah, I remember the one he scored in the stadium opener.
And he scored the following season, I think he got a double. In a 4-0 win. He obviously scored at Selhurst Park last season, if I remember rightly. So I'm pretty sure he's got a pretty good record against Palace. There's probably loads of goals I'm not even remembering. So I'm sure he'll be licking his lips. It's not going to be easy for him because Anderson and Guehi are tough opponents and they're good centre-backs, but the quality he has, sometimes he's unstoppable. So let's hope he's in that form. Well,
let's run through the lineups with you guys one more time. So in goal is Vicario, right back Pedro Porro, left back Ben Davis, Cuti Romero and Mickey van de Ven at centre back, with Bissouma, Hojbjerg and Maddison in the midfield 3, with Richarlison and Kulusevski supporting Heung-min Son. I said we'll stick with the same predictions. I'm going for 3-0. Sim's going for 2-0, both to Spurs. So with those predictions, Spurs will go 5 points top of the league. We'll have a very nice sleep on Friday night and we'll see what happens with the rest of the weekend. Big Manchester derby this weekend. Unfortunately, Arsenal have Sheffield United at home, so you do expect them to win. But it'll be nice to be 5 points clear, albeit for a few hours.
Yeah, well, look, never say never with Arsenal. They drew at home to Fulham, so you never know.
Yeah. All right. Well, that is our predicted lineup, and that is the stream for you guys. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. Like, subscribe, and comment. And as always, come on, you Spurs.